Reeves report, follow up to meeting with the town of Strathmore and the CRISP funding request we had. What's council like to do about that? Does everyone understand what the request was? Okay.
So we've actually had an actual, we have an actual.
I think just at the meeting we had nothing in writing.
Request. If they want $300,000, they better have a formal request.
Really screw us over.
I believe that.
I believe that a formal ask is appropriate. I don't, with the amount of issues that are there and questions that I think council would like to ask, I think that the formal thing would be the appropriate.
Okay. You want to instruct staff to get a hold of the CEO, get hold of CAO Ellen and inform them we'd like a formal ask if they.
Yes, I'd like that. Or a letter from the Reeve if need be, or whatever is appropriate.
No, I don't think. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they got paid for last year.
No, I don't want to use that. And they only took it for the 2 years, and so they wait till the end of the 5 years.
Yeah, they want to get
Till
back.
the program is over, then we reevaluate the program. That was the idea, right? So if they're requesting funding, it's got to be outside the CRISP program, as far as I'm concerned, because this was put in place for a reason. We're going to reevaluate it after 5 years, and then maybe go back into it or stay out of it. So they can't come in the middle of it. They made their, if they want funding, they have to come at it from a different angle.
And talking at the table at the time, I said, you know, you've had other considerations since that agreement was signed. How do you know some of that funding wasn't because of, you know, limiting there? Maybe they wouldn't have got this or that. But after the fact, it's hard to do, I thought. But right now, we haven't got a motion. We've just asked for a formal letter if they want to get in or not.
Yeah, so if we can direct administration to contact the town so that we can have this discussion, because it'll be a very interesting discussion.
You want to make that a motion?
I will make that a motion that we direct council to direct staff, to talk to the town of Strathmore about reinstating CRISP funding.
A formal request.
Formal request.
Through the chair, a friendly amendment to that, along the line that in that same discussion that program was put in place for a 5-year period to be reevaluated at the end of 5 years. They chose to participate for 2 years and then opt out. They may have to wait till the end of that 5-year period before the availability to come back into CRISP. That would be my, if it's not a friendly amendment.
I think that would be part of the discussion when we get the letter.
Well, let them know that if they're going to send us a letter, we're telling them we want a letter, but let them know that maybe that's going to be one
Tell
of
them
the
it was a
considerations.
5-year. I guess, yeah, Ellen can take that under advisement. Any other questions or concerns, or Amber?
Can you just review, I know with the CURB funding, there's a separate entity like a board that makes decisions around that funding. How does the CRISP work?
It's formula driven. I don't have the particulars. Ellen maybe can answer better than me.
The formula was based on residents using facilities and recreation amenities within the communities.
So we took the population basis from a number of years ago. There was a recreation study done, and that's what we used for to come up with the populations. So it's the non-residential rate. There was amount of $750,000 initially put aside by council from non-residential, and then there was a mill rate attached to that. So it's proportionate based on the amount of residents using it. So as an example, Drumheller gets about $17,000, and then the communities of Gleason and Carsland were also included in there because they have full recreation amenities similar to what our villages have. So the amount for Strathmore was in the neighborhood of $200,000, but obviously that changes depending on the non-residential assessment.
So if it's percentage, if we bring in Strathmore, that brings down the rest of the funds to other places? Or does it add?
No, I don't think so.
Doesn't?
No,
Okay.
so what's happened for this year is we didn't budget the amount to Strathmore, so it actually reduced it from $750,000 to closer to $550,000. We just took that amount on. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just want to be careful that we don't make it punitive, because they were acting on information that they were told from their staff. And
Yeah.
being with the previous board that was involved and things like that, that's all changed. Like, a lot of things have changed since then. And I don't want to take a punitive approach to that. That's my stand.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. New business, request for decision. Carsland Fire Station conceptual drawings and schematic report. Go ahead, Andy.
Good morning, Council. Yes, you have before you a motion from the Planning Department asking for the information before you for the conceptual drawings and the report from Sahurian Partners to be accepted for information. We've already discussed it with you, and I know you've had a good bit of time to look through the report and the schematic drawings. This will form the basis of this future capital project. Earlier this morning, you did approve the rezoning for this site with Colton's RFD. The next step, as he mentioned, would be subdivision. So we'll be pursuing that. The Planning Department and the Fire and Emergency Services Department is quite excited about this project, partly because we think it will be an amazing asset for Carsland and the new Goldfinch area structure plan industrial area, which will require a good amount of fire and emergency protection in the future, but also because this particular asset will service a large area, which is a growing area, and also support other adjacent municipalities if required. The site plan, as you can see on page 7 and 8 of the report, does allow for the building to be expanded with additional apparatus bays, future dorms, and parking expansions if required as the area grows. When we're looking at these brand new significant cost facilities, I like to look at 30 to 50-year time frame to make sure the Wheatland County is getting the best facility it can for the amount of money that's being put on the table, and that it's got a lot of longevity to it. So we have before you the conceptual drawings and the report. This will form the basis, if Council approves the capital funding for this project, to move forward with full engineering drawings, subdivision, landscape drawings, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I move that council accept the information, the attached conceptual drawings and report from Sahari and Partners Architecture Incorporated for the proposed new Carsland Fire Station.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, amendment to the South Central Mutual Aid Agreement. Thanks for coming in. Are you still talking to this mutual aid, Andy? I don't know who is. I just thought maybe it's part of yours.
It's,
Alan?
this revision is just an addition of a couple members that have now decided to
okay.
join. So there's, if you have any questions,
that
I
big
can
of a
answer
deal.
those, yeah.
I'll move that council approve signing of 3 new copies of the South Central Mutual Aid Agreement to include 3 new parties.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, strict line comment letter.
If there's no questions, I have read that and I am quite happy with it, so I will move that council approve forwarding the attached letter regarding strychnine and its associated end-use products to the Pest Management Regulatory Agency.
Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. I didn't get a chance to read it all through, but have they done any studies since they brought this back in to show that it has increased or it's decreased? Because when they brought this back in a few years back, that was their big complaint back then, and they've been trying to cancel it every year, and they keep telling us that it's harmful to, but I haven't seen anything in the last few years on whether or not it has been because of their control system that they've put in place on it now. I know I've seen it used out our way, and I haven't seen anything on the residual effects onto the other animals. So they keep telling us there is, but have they got any?
No, I mean, that could be.
I think they need to prove. They need to be able to prove what they're saying. What is this? What's this when they say that removing the ground squirrel from the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities? So they're saying you can't poison them now, or Health Canada is proposing to cancel registration and require removal of ground squirrel from the label of SARM, which is the Saskatchewan Association of Municipal Gopher Poison, RTU, whatever that means. They say they're going to remove the ground squirrel in Saskatchewan. Move it from what?
Where are you reading that, Ben?
Key issues.
Key issues, yeah, that's from that. Well, they just require it from the label, removing it from the label.
What
So
do they-
even if they approve it, if they remove it from the label, you still can't use it. What they're saying. Turn your mic on, please.
I don't understand.
I don't know, has there been much from the public phoning in, or? I know some of them are aware of it, and I tell them to write a letter, but I don't know if anybody has.
Through the chair, I haven't heard anything. Russ may have had further communications. Would you like me to bring him into council?
No, I don't
No?
think it's necessary.
I was happy with the letter. I can send the letter.
That's what I was going to say. Overall, I think the letter's really good. It points out that right now, there's no viable alternatives that we're aware of, and that it's important, and I thought the letter was well written.
If we want to add in, we'd like to see.
Uh,
I'd rather just leave.
But this is gonna have real ramifications if they get rid of it, right? And this pest management regulatory agency, which has found this, they've reviewed as identified environmental concerns, we should be probably thinking as municipality to go after these people to question or not whether or not they're, you know, because they can be talking right out of their, right off the top of their heads, right? Like, I can find out all sorts of stuff. They banned DDT for all the wrong reasons. So they, you know, if the squirrels were an ugly looking beast, you know, they look like my mother-in-law, they'd have no problem with them, but, you know, because they're squirrels, she doesn't watch, because they're squirrels, you know, like everybody is, oh, it's a horrible thing to do. So I don't know, we're gonna have to be really careful on this one. Like, if they ban this down, I think we have to look at what's the next step, because this is the only control you really have, the only effective control. So if they eliminate it, then you just can't say, oh, well, we lost. I think we have to start thinking about what we do next then.
I think in the past, it was, the registration was removed, and the population got to such an extent, and the outcry from everybody, they put a temporary in. And now that the registration's coming due, and,
Through the chair, are they trying to get it, because it's only Ag Service Board, like, you can't buy this from UFA, right? And is that what they're trying to get it opened up further so that you can buy it through those retail outlets, or are they? Oh, I know they want to shut it down, but are the ones that are trying to keep it open, trying to expand what their argument is to it? Like, I don't have an issue not allowing UFA and Home Hardware and all those others not to be able to sell the stuff, as long as the Ag Service Boards under control are still allowed to use the product for their ag producers. And I think that needs to be stated, that I'm not sure, doesn't say anywhere in here where the ones that are pushing to keep it out there, that are they trying to get it back into that retail market?
any other discussion? Ready for the vote? All in favor? Okay, Jason.
Just, can I ask staff to, I guess that's a motion for after the motion, okay.
Yeah, we'll deal with one motion. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Go ahead.
Can I ask staff to look at, as Tom mentioned, getting ahead if we do lose strychnine? How can we go about controlling the gopher population in the county? I'd assume every other municipality is going to be looking at different ways. So whether we talk to a few different ones, but I would like to see RFD come back, or information at least on how to. I'll move that motion.
Okay, any questions? All in favor?
Just a comment, if you go back in our files, Jim Laszlo did quite an extensive test for 2 years on that stuff, and he used the plot across from a quarter section across from where I am, because the fellow there, due to a couple of girls using it to this world 20 years prior to that, he refuses to let anybody use it on his land, so the pasture land got pretty well overrun. So Jim used it as a test area with the stuff that he could get through UFA or out of the market. Jim's results, I don't know what his report says, that it wasn't effective, and yet I never had a gopher come off of that side of the road for 2 years. It worked, but he had to follow a real rigid program to make it work, and some of the issue. You can't just go out and spread it once and be done with it. He had to go out there, I think, 3 different times and spread it and cover and spread it and cover. But it did work. His report showed it didn't, because the first year, or that year, it didn't show it. But there was nothing there for just under 2 years, and then they came back. So be careful with when you reports forward. They don't always tell the truth.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I don't know whether whatever Jim used is what Russ was talking about, but Russ was talking about there's gopher poisoning that UFA sells, but the antidote is vitamin K, and that's in the alfalfa, as Russ said. So I don't know if that's what he used. So we do have to be careful on what we use.
Okay, we ready to vote for Jason's motion? All in favor? Carried. One request I have, do we have someone can post this letter on Facebook so it gets out there? That's what the county sent this letter out, and spur some more letters maybe? Maybe you want to put it in the papers? Okay. Request for decision, temporary road closure for the Terry Fox Run. Thanks, Angie.
I'll move the request for the closure for 500 meters to accommodate the Wheatland Crossing School for their Terry Fox Run on September 27th.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, bylaw 2018-29. Council's wishes.
I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve bylaw 2018-29 to amend bylaw 2017-46 by adopting first, second, and third reading. You want first reading first? Okay, I'll move first reading and then rescind following third reading. Is that?
Second reading first, and then we'll do the third reading.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, Ben, I can't hear you. Yeah. Page, let me go back here, 363. So
Should
we're looking
rescind
for a
the
first
first
reading.
motion first, please, yes.
Yeah. So the first motion is to rescind, did I hear you say, Ellen? I'm having a hard time this morning. Okay, we want to rescind the bylaw first.
So I'll rescind my previous motion and I'll move that we rescind bylaw 2017-46.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And now first reading.
I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve bylaw 2018-29, first reading.
First reading. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Donna?
I move that we accept bylaw 2018-29, second reading.
Second reading. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. And I believe, do we need permission? Okay, any questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously.
I'll move third reading.
Ben's moved third reading. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, bylaw 2000, oh, we just did that one. Request for decision, bylaw 2018-10. 13? Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'll move second reading.
Ben's moved second reading. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Third reading?
I'll move third reading, 2018-13.
Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Request for decision, bylaw 2018-10.
I'll move second reading for bylaw 2018-10.
Any questions? All in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Is carried.
I'll move third and final reading of bylaw 2018-10.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Is carried. And the Gleason Community Center was the handout. Turn your mic on so everybody can hear.
What's happening over there?
We need a seating arrangement.
I'll move today. It doesn't bother me.
Okay, next break.
Musical chairs, let's go.
Okay, we're on the Gleason Community Center gravel request. And was the handout that was provided with your agenda.
I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve the donation of 3 tandem loads of 3/4-inch crushed gravel on behalf of the Gleason Community Association for the construction project on the Gleason Community Center property.
Any questions?
Certified.
All in favor? Carried.
Do we ever say no? Do we ever say no? 26 years, have we ever said no?
Yeah. Okay, I guess we're down to correspondence. And it's a letter from Rocky View are opening their new complex.
He's on his way.
Balzac, yeah. That's the letter. It's not a letter, I got it as an email. unless they send a letter.
Through the chair, we used to, well, actually, we used to go around when the municipalities opened them up, because I know I went to a few of them. Castor, a lot of the ones we'd sent a delegation of 1 or 2 members of council up there for their openings and present them with plaques. Are we still doing that? And I'll put a motion on the floor that 2 members of council present it to at the opening of their Reeve or Deputy Reeve or Reeve, one, so 2 members anyway be delegated to go. The rest you can go if you want, but.
If I can add to that, I think it should be either one of you guys and then one of the neighboring councilors. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. That a motion?
Or Deputy Reeve, but 2.
Okay. Yeah. Can we get automatic mics as soon as there's a noise, they come on? Most voice sensitive mics? Okay, any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Okay. All in favor? Carried. That's it for correspondence. Since we made a motion on it, we don't have to accept his information, do we? Okay. All in favor? Carried. And how long's the closed session? Okay. Okay, let's do that then.